the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Good morning, everyone. So today's gospel lesson tells the story of the calling of the first disciples. You know, the Lord's calling to follow him is not unique to the disciples alone. You, dear friends, are part of a priesthood yourselves, a priesthood of all believers, a priesthood, a royal priesthood. You too have been given a calling to follow Christ, your own unique personal calling. Over the years, I have been asked multiple times about my calling to the priesthood. And I have been reluctant to share that with people. My own children, I've never really sat them down and told them the whole story. I recall the very first time I was asked. It was at the seminary, my senior year. Before graduating, one of the requirements is to meet in this very beautiful, ornate room with all your professors, these world-class theologians, distinguished priests, a bishop, and they just ask a bunch of questions, one after the other. I remember the first question that was asked was by Bishop Dimitri Trakatellis, who eventually became Archbishop Demetrius. And he said, read this passage from Jeremiah. I read it. And he said, what four things do you see in this? It was about the calling of Jeremiah. Again, the calling. And I told him what I knew, what I thought, the 4 points. And then a little later on, someone asked, well, what about your calling? And I said, you know, Father, if you don't mind, I would rather just keep that to myself. Because, I don't know, I didn't want my calling to be probed or put under a microscope or analyzed or anything. It was personal to me, it was precious. And they respected that. I think they even liked it. Just a couple of weeks ago, this lovely couple asked Presbyter and I to go out to dinner. And first thing you know, we sit down and the woman asks, Father, what is your calling? Tell me about your calling to the priesthood. I was sipping on a martini at the time, so I don't know. I gave her an edited view, a Reader's Digest thing. But, today, the gospel reading being what it is, the calling of the disciples, I thought maybe it's time to, give an account of my calling. Only for that it may be beneficial to you. Yeah, that's the hope. So here goes some portion of it. It's not complete there, because if it was, we'd be here for over a half hour, and I didn't want to do that. So after I graduated from college in Miami, I earned a Bachelor's of Science degree in elementary and secondary education. And the prize goal for a prospective teacher in Miami is to, excuse me, can you give me some water? The prize goal for a prospective teacher in Miami is to get into the Dade County school system. Good pay, great benefits, but it was very hard to get into. In the meantime, the Catholic schools around South Florida were fawning over me. And I got a few offers. One was in Key West, Florida. And I thought, Key West, oh my goodness, I've never been there. And I thought, I was young and adventurous, and I thought that would be a great thing to do. So I went to Key West, Florida. And you talk about a culture shock. I mean, I was young, I was strong, I was athletic, and so I'd put on my sneakers and my shorts, and I'm running around here and there and doing some errands, and everybody's looking at me like I'm from another planet. And then there was this one guy in front of a store with the long beard and the long hair and these hippie clothes and everything. He goes, "Hey man, where are you going? What's your hurry?" That was the culture. It was laid back. And after 2 years of island living, I had enough. I said, I've got to get serious about my life. And so, I thought, I had this calling within me. You got to keep climbing. You have to keep climbing. And so I obeyed that voice. I went back to Miami. I went back to school to get a master's degree in community counseling. I thought that would quench this craving to keep climbing. And I also got a job to pay for that school, that tuition. And again, it was not Dade County, but it was another Catholic school. This was an inner city Catholic school. Friends, telling you, this was the best job I ever had. And I'm not comparing it to the priesthood, because to me the priesthood is not a job. It is, as St. John Chrysostom calls it, a pattern of virtue. So I'm not comparing it to the priesthood, but that job, I looked forward to going to school every day. I looked forward to it. On the weekends, I was depressed because I wanted to be with the kids, and it was that kind of thing. It was unbelievable. We had such attunement. We had such relational security. It was so beautiful. They were so obedient, so loving, so respectful. I just loved being with them. We shared stories all the time. Anyway, after a year and a half of this, guess who calls? The Dade County school system. And they interviewed me and they said, "The job is yours if you want it." And I was faced with a dilemma. I mean, yes, the salary would be double, even triple the salary, and the benefits. For some, this would have been a no-brainer. But for me, how do you put a price tag on those relationships and that job satisfaction that I had? It was a tough decision. But in the end, I guess the lure of money, the lure of the dollar, the almighty dollar, got the better of me. I went into the Dade County school system, and after a couple of years there, with my master's degree, I got this raise, and I was saving money, and my eye caught this condo in Miami Beach. You're saying something in me is climbing? Well, there it is, the condo. Top floor. You open the balcony door. You oversee Key Biscayne. It was gorgeous. And so, again, I needed some business acumen. I needed some advice. So I called my friend at the time, Mary Copulus, who, as you know, is Presbytera Mary. And I asked her, she's a whiz kid. She knows business like the back of her hand. So I needed that advice. And so she said, "Oh, Paul, this is great. Not only a great place to live, but, this is a great investment. This is going to be worth millions someday. Great place to live." We walked back to the car, and she could see I was pensive. And I told her, "Mary, the other option I'm thinking of doing with this money that I've saved is to go to the seminary." And she said, "Well, Paul, of all the friends I've ever known, you'd be great for that. I think you should consider that, And I said, "Well, to make things a little more complicated, I am not going there for the priesthood. I don't see that. It's not in my radar. I don't feel I can even manage it. I don't think I can handle it. Anyway, and plus, this year, that in the school system, not only was I getting a raise for the master's degree, but I was also getting a raise for my continuing contract year, which is another huge raise. And so, I don't know. I told her all this, and her answer was one I'll never forget. She said, well, let's think about it. I don't even know what she said after that. The fact that she, as a friend, said, let's reason together. Let's think about how relational is that? How respectful is that? I just loved it. And again, this drive, this thing to climb was in me. I just knew that if I went to Boston this particular year, doors were going to open. That message kept coming to me. So I forsook the condo and the huge raise that I was about to receive. And even though it didn't make earthly sense, it didn't make financial sense, I wasn't going to be a priest. Why am I going? I'm going to, I just felt called. The call, this time the money didn't defeat me. This time the call was greater than the almighty dollar. So I asked Dade County for a year's leave of absence. They said okay, and I launched out into the deep, to use the language of today's gospel. Went to Boston without really much of a plan. And as it turned out, that year was a very turbulent year for Hellenic College Holy Cross. The people across the archdiocese were complaining, we want to give money to the seminary so we could support our new priests. That's what we want to give to. We don't want to have to give to the college as well, because Hellenic College Holy Cross was a fully accredited college. It had all kinds of course offerings in business, education, the sciences, the arts. Believe it or not, it was even part of the National Collegiate Athletic Association. It was NCAA Division III. We had sports teams. We had a soccer team. We had a men and women's basketball team. Upon arrival, I actually went into the athletic department and offered my services as a volunteer. But this huge controversy was looming over the college. The college, with all those course offerings, was being threatened to come to an end. And indeed, in the end, the people spoke, and the Hellenic College was forced that year to terminate all its programs, with the exception of theological studies. Hellenic College Holy Cross became purely a full seminary that year. And all those students who had studied so hard, about to enter their senior year, had to find a new college. All the faculty, all the coaches had to find new positions. So I finished my year, that year, and I asked Dade County, if I could just get another extension, one more year, I could get at least a master's degree out of this in theological studies. There was a 2-year Master's of Theological Studies degree. So I thought, maybe I could just get that, And the job in Miami said, no, you come back or you lose your job. So I wrote a nice letter to Dr. Leland, the president of Hellenic College Holy Cross, thanking him for a beautiful year, life-changing year. I learned so much. But practicality told me that since I wasn't going to be a priest, I'm not here to just dabble in theology, it's time to go back to work. Now, you think of it. Suddenly, this beautiful Papist gymnasium at the seminary, where the world champion Boston Celtics were practicing because of the beauty and the privacy, they had no staff from Hellenic College Holy Cross. The president found my number in Miami. I was at work. He calls me. He says, Paul? Yes, Dr. Leland. Oh, my goodness. He goes, we need someone to get these fat seminarians in shape. We need someone to schedule the use of the gym for the Celtics. We will pay your tuition. We will cover your room and board. We will give you a stipend. If you want to be a priest, here's your chance. I was flabbergasted. The priesthood, it's as if it fell into my lap. If I had gone any other year, it would have never worked out this way. The year that didn't make sense for me to go, that's the year I went, that's the year I was called. You know, just before concluding, I want to tell you, just as a side, to compare my calling with Peter's calling in today's gospel. You know, Peter was told by a carpenter. Peter was an experienced fisherman. And he's told by a carpenter to launch out into the deep and let down your nets for a catch. And Peter said, we did it all night, but at your word I'll do it. I'll obey your calling. He goes out, and you know the story. He gets this great shoal of fish, so much so they needed 2 boats. Boats were sinking, nets were breaking. Abundance of blessing. Well, for me, when I went there, since I was now on staff technically, they gave me this, you know, the dorms there are like tiny. I mean, it's ridiculous. You share a bathroom with everybody, and so, but then because I'm on staff, I get this huge dorm with a picture window, you know, private bath. And then in my senior year, seniors go up to Hulkey Village, which is the highest point on the campus. You overlook all of Boston. So you have these beautiful townhouses. So because I was a senior, I got that townhouse as well. So not only that, the gym had an office. I was sharing that office with Red Auerbach, Larry Bird, Kevin McHale. You know, what is this? I mean, I can't believe it. I'm rubbing elbows with these NBA legends. Not only that, in the administrative building, again, because I was the supposed athletic director, this administrative building was gorgeous. It was ornate. The wood was perfect. It was beautiful. Staircases. It was just unbelievable. I had an office there too. And the professors all had their offices there. The bishop, the priest, they had these little nooks and crannies. I had this huge office with my own sauna and my own shower and my own private bath. I go, oh my God, Lord, I'm not worthy of all this, you know. And just like Peter. In the meantime, Father Elia Katri of blessed memory caught up with me. I was walking to class, and he goes, Paul, come here. He goes, your name is Paul, not Pope Paul. You're going to have to get rid of some of these spaces you have amassed. And I said, okay. Well, friends, let me tell you. I'm sorry, I went a little long today, but in conclusion, I want to reiterate to you that we all have a calling to follow Christ. So I want you to be sensitive to it. Discern whether it's from the Lord or not. Speak to your spiritual fathers. Speak to trusted friends. As St. Paul said today, stand firm in the faith. Be strong. Be courageous. As a matter of fact, when it comes to a calling that he says to launch out in the deep, don't just be courageous, be outrageous. Because the Lord, he may not promise ease, but he will promise greatness and mission and purpose and salvation and union with him. God bless you today.